Welcome in on a Monday. They can say,
It feels good. There's no words or anything. It's just, yeah.
I mean, for obvious legal reasons, there are no words. But welcome in. Hopefully everyone out there is making them say, whoever that is in your life that you want to say, Thank you for joining us. We had an excellent weekend in sports.
Yes.
I think we're going on, 3 weeks where they're just the slate already going in on Friday looks great. But this was one of maybe the first one where it exceeded, kind of.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Because just great individual performances or, historical things that we saw. I knew going into it was going to be a lot to watch and a lot of good stuff. But, we just saw some crazy history going all across the board. Tyler, how was your weekend of sports fandom?
Oh, man, it was good. Like you said, it was just, nonstop and everything a lot of things kind of over-delivered this weekend, which made it really good. Some of the great stuff I didn't even get to see because I was busy watching other stuff. That's a great problem to have.
It almost became, I got to flip back.
But I do also want to give
commercial.
a special shout out to my folks. They did celebrate their 45 years of marriage yesterday, so big shout out to them.
Yes,
and also want to give a big shout out to whoever made that new Batman trailer because that shit looks fucking awesome. I don't know if you saw it, but
I haven't seen it.
It looks tight.
I haven't seen it.
Robert Pattinson, you got me sold, man. It looks awesome.
Is it still a Chris Nolan joint?
No.
Someone else doing it.
Yeah, it's somebody else. It kind of looks more like they're kind of leaning on the detective aspect. Like it looks kind of like Seven or like Zodiac kind of. Like it looks.
Oh, okay.
It looks awesome. But Ronnie, how was your weekend?
It was awesome. Spoiled to death by all the cool stuff we saw in the sports world, which we are going to dive right into. And got to did a little staycation yesterday at the Lafayette Hotel, which is like a 150-year-old hotel, with a big pool, maybe 8 minutes from my house. But it was just so hot in the house when we woke up on Sunday. It's like we should just all pitch in, get a room, and then all 5 of us can go use their pool. So that's pretty much what it was. But it was very nice, and they had AC in the room. So
that's always nice.
I was probably like 75% in the room in the AC, just watching all the sports. And then, just dip in the pool, come back.
Just curious, are you like me, where like the first thing when you get to a hotel and first thing you do is you just turn that AC down like as low as possible?
I am just traditionally that way anyways. Shout out to the Bayern. Also, I know he rolls like that. But especially yesterday when it was just hot and miserable in our house, that was the first thing. It's like, all right, close the door or don't, whatever. I'm not paying the power bill. But we did close the door. We're not animals. And then just crank it down to like 67 degrees.
Yes.
And it just blasted.
That's what's up. That's where it's at.
Real quick, let's hit some of the comments. As you saw on the whiteboard tonight, today is Kobe Day, 8/24.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace. It was. I would have to say that was one of the first just what is happening in 2020? Because that was right at the beginning of the year. It seems like the pandemic thing, it seems like it's been years, and also it seems like it's been like a couple of days because you can't do anything. So it's just kind of like the time has gone by. That was definitely not the best way to start the year. And I think, as I've told you guys on the program, I was at the Farmers Open with my dad. And when that news came out, then I was pressed into action to have to go work and stand in front of Tiger Woods and just get his reaction to it, which he didn't even know until like 5 minutes before he stepped on the podium. Right. So the whole thing was just like a surreal day, out-of-body experience. But again, rest in peace to everyone on the flight. That was just not the best way to start 2020. Let's just put it lightly. Jaime checking in early. Bayern I called it. Tyler called
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Waiting to see that boost in the FIFA video game rankings. Just
Oh,
gonna run wild on Foles.
that's not coming until 2021 comes out, I think.
No. Now they gotta sell that one. They're already putting the trailers on there.
Yeah.
Jordan checking in. Resident Batman expert as well. Batman is going to be
There we
epic, throwing up the fist. And Cease coming in hot. Tyler's parents celebrating like when Tyler moved out.
They
Damn,
probably
Cease.
they probably celebrated harder when I moved out than they're celebrating 45 years of marriage.
That's for the record. There is a friend of the program, Cease.
There he is, big Cease.
From the cab, from the office, as we like to call it.
OMB, the OG right there.
But thank you guys for watching. Let's dive right into it. The first thing I wanted to talk about was just the NBA yesterday. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Especially Luka's performance. I thought was it's no secret that this guy is one of already the biggest stars in the league, being that he's 21. And
the secret to Vlade Divac, I'll tell you that.
Well, his dad wasn't cool, dude. He didn't like his dad. He made a judgment call, and that was it.
Yeah,
saw enough.
Yeah.
But Luka just went off, and watching that game, this is the game I got to see the most of. I mean, it was still kind of bits and pieces, but the thing that's so crazy about him is that he is the hype around him when he was coming in the league is like, all right, he's been playing with actual adult professionals in Europe. This guy could be like ready to go. And it shows though, because he does little things, just like little footwork things. There was a couple plays where I saw, the Clippers were trying to give him everything they had. They had Kawhi on them. They had Paul George on them. They were running double teams at him. And he was just doing like little like footwork things and just like little technical things, like finer point type of stuff that it's like a veteran move. And as we all saw, single coverage for some reason in the overtime and just drains a game winner and pretty damn savage. My favorite thing about that was the reaction just pouring in. I mean, not like guys that play against him already know what he's all about, but let me see if I have it here. Yeah, so this is pretty much everyone, notable on social media in the league just freaking out. Trae Young, LeBron, obviously Steph Curry, Lillard, John Morant, who was, probably Rookie of the Year. Just everyone just freaking out. Like this guy, I wouldn't say he arrived, but that was the, put the rest of the league on notice kind of thing.
Right. That's he's been here, but that's kind of like the really making his presence known moment.
If you pull out 43, 17, and 13 in a playoff game, that is absurd. I mean,
and that's without your number 2 player in the game as well, because Porzingis was out.
Yeah, and this guy, I mean, it's just insane to watch a guy. He's 6'10", whatever it is. He's always bringing the ball down the court vision, the passing ability. Also, kind of rare for someone like that is like that point forward, sort of these Lamar Odom types, even LeBron, sort of just like a huge size point guard, basically. That, well, I guess I would exempt LeBron from this, but he's a really good rebounder, and rebounding is just like, who wants it more? Right. So that shows a lot right there, that he's able to, pull down 17 rebounds in a game where he pretty much had to take the whole thing over by himself. And he did that. Like I said, the Clippers ran everything they had at him, and he was still getting off. Like, it was just insane.
Yeah, that dude he's something else. Like, I got no problem, when I'm wrong about something, I got no problem saying it. Like, when he kind of came into the league in the draft, maybe this is just kind of like a,
You were on Team Vlade. Didn't like his dad. Admit it.
I've never been on Team Vlade. We'll say that. But no, I mean, like, I definitely had questions. And again, maybe this is just kind of like a, because I, watched a lot in the 90s and the early 2000s where the game was a bit more physical. And I'm not trying to compare generations. Like, it's a different game. That's all there is to it. So, when somebody comes in from Europe or comes straight out of high school, I'm all, in my head, I'm like, are they going to be able to handle it? But, not thinking that the game has kind of evolved more towards I guess you could call it the European style. I don't know what other way to
Oh
put it.
yeah,
Just
I would
just
say
the game
that.
has changed that. So like, and he is just jumped right in, and it's like, oh yeah, like I'm legit. Like everything you saw me do over in Europe, I'm gonna do over here. I'm still gonna kill it. And he's just been just absolutely fun to watch, amazing to watch. Well, fun other than the fact Kings could have had him. Although I'm still not 100% convinced the Kings wouldn't have screwed up if they did draft him. But
Yeah, that's true. It might have been for the best for Luka that
yeah,
he did not
for
get
him,
drafted, but that
yeah,
Vlade hated his dad apparently.
yes, yeah,
But yeah, I think like I said, the rebounding thing really stands out to me because it's kind of like one or the other. I feel like a lot of times, like handling the ball, like LeBron's on a different planet. There's
sure,
occasionally guys like that, but having such good ball handling and just passing ability, and still being able to get in there and get 10 rebounds a game, no
yeah,
problem. And these aren't even like cheap triple doubles. This is not like Westbrook just going out to play to get a triple double. This is
right.
like he blows past the 10 rebounds. It's just like he's just feeling like unbelievable fantasy stat lines, I'm sure, for NBA basketball, but um, just remarkable what he's already done, and he's 21. So, um,
Yeah, you got him, and then you got good old playoff P, who's
yeah, playoff P is
he's blowing away the league in a whole different reason. There was a stat I saw from ESPN Stats Info today that Paul George is the first player to shoot under 25% in 3 straight playoff games, with a minimum of 10 attempts per game, of course, since good old Bob Cousy in 1960, which
hey, you
not
end
the
up with
record
a
you want to go for.
yeah. I mean, silver lining, maybe you end up with a Bob Cousy Hall of Fame career.
This is true.
Who
Look,
knows?
Cousy had a good career. He did have a good career, no question about
If
that.
Cousy did it, and obviously was able to recover from that, but yeah, he's definitely going through some things. I know in the post game he mentioned something about, well, if I'm hitting shots, this is a whole different series.
Yeah,
It
but you're
kind of
not.
felt like
That's the problem.
he's not, and it felt like a guy trying to talk himself out of it, but he's missing little like bunny layups and overtime and stuff like that.
Yeah,
He's feeling it. You could tell by the way he's playing out there. Like he's feeling the weight of he's not been shooting well, and the team is now down 1-2. But I'm really excited for that series. I
yeah.
could definitely see that going 7 games, but
Oh, for sure.
there
Well,
could
it's going
still
at
be
least
some
6.
kind of
So,
yeah, and there still could be some kind of wall where maybe Luka just can't do it all. Like I said, he's 21 years old, but at this point, you can't rule out anything with this guy because that was like a superhuman star-making performance that we saw yesterday.
yeah, absolutely. No, that has been an absolutely fun series, and yeah, that's would absolutely not be surprising at all if it went 7 games. So we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. I think what they play again tomorrow night, right?
Yes, and well, I haven't had a chance to look at the Lakers score. I know what's going on right now. It seemed like they were taking care of business early on, but
Yeah, they were up big before we jumped on the air.
we'll check in on that a little bit later. But the other just mind-blowing performance, actually from 2 guys.
2 guys, yeah.
Donovan Mitchell, who's now had 2 50-point games in this series against the Nuggets, and Jamal Murray, a.k.a. what allegedly C.J. McCollum's pubes look like, according to NBA Snapchat or whatever that was, Instagram Live. But shout out to CJ. He's keeping it real. He's reading the
Oh, for
comments.
sure. Yeah.
Your comment will get on air. He will read anything you put on that teleprompter. Anything. But yeah, Donovan Mitchell went off. I think he had 53 points, and Jamal Murray, they ended up losing the game, but goes for 50. And just as a whole snapshot, you got to feel good about it if you are an NBA fan because these guys are all under 24, 5 years old maybe.
Right.
And this is going to be the face of the league going forward. So I would say it's in good hands. I mean, we see LeBron sort of in his twilight. Anthony Davis can be around for a while. He's still elite. I think Giannis is 24, 5 still. Maybe
Yeah,
he might be a
he's
little older than
mid-20s.
that.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, the league is in good hands talent-wise, just with some of the performances we've been seeing like in the bubble. And the most interesting thing about this game, besides just a great performance, was something that Tyler pointed out to me. And as you know, I'm just going to say it, we're now the gambling show of record here on TQN.
Yeah.
This was a
Although it is for entertainment purposes only.
Of course, entertainment purposes only. I mean, these are just recommendations.
Sure.
But Tyler, go ahead and tee this up, and then I have the graphic here.
Yeah, so last night at the end of the game, the Jazz were up 6 on Denver. Time was running out. Game was pretty much over. Jamal Murray just puts up a three, at the buzzer just for the heck of it, drains it in. So the Nuggets lose by 3. The thing on the spread with BetMGM was they were going at plus 3.5, and that was a massive swing because we had a bettor who had 2 bets out that totaled $115,000, which he bet on the Nuggets to cover. So that swung it from him losing $115,000 to winning $100,000. So that was a massive swing that cost the sports books on a what's otherwise an insignificant shot. So, hey, props to that guy. Always glad to see people making money. Big tough look for the MGM there.
It's always just fascinating to me when these, especially when it's a point spread thing, because one little meaningless shot, field goal, whatever, millions of dollars change hands on that sometimes. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, like it says here at the bottom, this is from Yahoo. Obviously, plenty of other people that bet on the Jazz who ended up covering there right at the end in what is otherwise a meaningless shot. But money-wise, not so meaningless. That's pretty gnarly. Especially for this guy. $115,000 laid on that. And rips off 100 gur. So shout out to that guy.
Yeah. I mean, always happy to see people make money on some crazy bets. I mean, we've all had bad beats. It's be nice to have one of those good wins like that one of these days. But
yeah, someday.
Someday
that'll be our last episode because I'm out.
Yeah, or I'll be well broken dead before then. I don't know.
Most likely
yeah. That's what Vegas counts on, man. It's and I'm sure, the casino's got to put these stories out to entice people. Hey, look, it can happen. It can happen.
But yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they still have all that casino money, and
exactly.
Professional people set these lines. It doesn't always happen. It's even though they lose, take it on the chin for one day, they'll get it all back, and
they get it in the long term.
The next 5 hours probably, and you put it out there. It's like, oh man, I got to run down the sports book.
Yeah, that's how the house always wins, man.
Also, Jaime chiming in that CJ McCollum needs that Manscaped money. Manscaped is splashing out. They're
everywhere, man.
Working at the Padres, we were gearing up for the preseason. They had a segment on the pregame show. They've got billboards all over everywhere. So Manscaped with a huge ad push right now.
If you listen to 80 podcasts, you will hear an ad read from Manscaped.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But just a really, really good weekend in the bubble in the NBA. Just great series. RIP, sorry, Amanda, to the Sixers. I don't know where you go from there.
You find a new coach. That's what their first step is.
Yeah, that happened right off the bat.
Yeah.
And yes, Simmons wasn't there, but I still just kind of feel like that 2017, 2018 season where they really, I thought, punched above their weight a little bit. Sort of set the bar maybe a little too high time-wise. Everyone's like, oh, they're going to be contenders in the East for the next 8 years. And then all those guys got their mega deals. They had Jimmy Butler for a little while there, and they were pretty good. But I don't know. I don't know how long the Simmons-Embiid thing can last. I don't necessarily think you have to cut bait and get rid of one of those guys. But
no, I don't think so.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the next year or two.
Also, you mentioned Jimmy Butler. Shout out to him for his obviously his coffee conglomerate going on, as well as his Heat getting the sweep on the Pacers. Which I thought the Heat were going to win that series, but I would not have predicted a sweep. But they're looking pretty good. The Bucks kind of, as we both said, the Bucks kind of woke up after that first game against the Magic. But if Butler comes back, because I know he's kind of been off to the sideline, and if he comes back, that could be a pretty fun and interesting series. I still think the Bucks win, but I think the Heat can make that one pretty close.
Yeah, the Heat kind of feel like one of those teams that showed up, with a little chip on their shoulder going into the bubble. Like, hey, kind of like the Blazers when they were in the seeding games. And, I mean, the Lakers are kind of stretching it out on them now, but they were the number one seed. But the Heat sort of have come in there with the same attitude. You know, that like the Magic winning that first game against the Bucks, it was just sort of like the stars aligned. It could happen again, but I don't see them having any chance in that series. But the Heat have just gone in there and just put the screws to the Pacers. They just like whooped them.
Yeah.
All the while, Jimmy Butler just raking in that coffee money. Check the brand. Check the brand. Remember the name.
You know what? You know what? That was actually a good transition based off of what he was wearing. I think maybe we could jump into the Champions League final that about yesterday, where Bayern Munich did pull out the win, the 1-0 win after the what was it, a 59th minute header, I think, by Kingsley Coman, something around there.
And I mean, I was just excited. I set my alarm to get up and watch it, make sure I saw the whole thing on Sunday. Yeah. Usually Champions League final played a little bit later on a Saturday, but, you know, extenuating circumstances of this whole thing, they squeezed the whole late rounds into, like we said, maybe 2.5 weeks just to plow through it. And again, entertainment purposes only, but I do want to go on record and say we both had Bayern. So
it's true.
There's that. And I thought the first half was really, really good. Not the cagey sort of, we'll sit back and, you know, we don't want to just get scored on. It was pretty end-to-end for a while there. Mbappe had a really good chance, but kind of looking at the replay, I think the ball was played back to him. He wasn't expecting it, so he just tried to get something on it, and it just rolls right to Neuer's feet. As Tyler was saying after the game, and I 100% agree with you, I thought Neuer was man of the match far and away. He just does things back there that other goalies can't do, even though he's getting up there in years. But especially, probably with his feet, the most talented goalie I've ever seen. If you have a chance, go on YouTube and just look up some of these mixtapes of him playing as an outfield player, like getting into the attack if they're going for a header late in the game, or you'll see a guy like you think he's on a breakaway, the TV pans out, and here comes Neuer with like a slide tackle, just doing something crazy, or doing like a little spin move and just like juking a guy when there's no one behind him. Just having that like actual soccer, you know, ability with his feet. But he was everywhere, you know, just held it down. I mean, PSG had really good chances in the first half. About 15 minutes after halftime, then you see Bayern finally get the breakthrough goal. Yes, they did sort of get more conservative after that, but I thought it was a well-played game. And like I said, I feel a little vindicated that my prediction did come through, even though it was clearly for entertainment purposes only.
Of course. Now, yeah, like you said, I thought the first half was great, very exciting. You know, soccer's one of those weird things where, you know, you can see no score and it's still, you're like fully entertained by it just because the action was so good. You know, second half, yeah, it definitely slowed down, especially once Bayern scored. Then it was, you know, kind of very much like all right, let's just hang on. It wasn't like a full-on, you know, park the bus style performance by them, but it was definitely, you know, they kind of eased back a little bit, weren't trying to, you know, pressure so much, just kind of either keep the ball as best they could or keep Neymar and Mbappe from doing something crazy. Definitely saw a lot of, I don't know if I guess you call it their version of hack-a-shack, kind of whenever Neymar would get near the ball, they'd really press on him.
Get a body on him.
Yeah. But, no, I mean, it was, again, you know, very good performance by Munich. Wholeheartedly agree with you. Neuer was man. I think they wound up giving it to Coman, but I definitely thought Neuer was man of the match. And I felt good for him because, you know, Germany had that really bad 2018 World Cup, and the people were kind of starting to say, you know, is Neuer over the hill? Because he's mid-30s now?
Yeah, there was a sort
maybe
of
like a year older than us.
Media, you know, who knows how much internally in the Germany team of a awkwardness it was between him and Ter Stegen, the Barcelona goalkeeper, of like who should take over that spot now. And, you know, he's been battling some injuries too last couple years. But definitely just world class. Glad to see him win, and in that way where he was really one of the stars. Koeman has had a really good tournament though, especially since they came back. I mean, he's always been super talented, but I could definitely see him. You know, I have no problem with him getting man of the match. And also shout out to Alphonso Davies. He's 19 years old, the Canadian kid. It was kind of interesting though, because in the first half he they were kind of coming after him a little bit. He is one of the fastest guys probably in, high level world soccer right now. But always like to see guys come out of MLS, go to a big team like that, make their bones, work their way up to where I believe he was Rookie of the Year in Bundesliga. And maybe, well, I would say probably did help him. That being a final like that, a 19-year-old kid, there was no fan, so maybe it was a little less nervy out there.
That's a good point.
And he was still a little shaky, but had his moments where it just showed this guy's gonna be good for a long time. Pretty confident on the ball. They moved him. He's usually like a winger, but he's like a wing back now, just so they can get him in the lineup because you already have Gnabry and Coman just sort of bombing down the wings. So it's just how do we get another fast guy out there? So he slid back to left back. And overall, I thought he had a really good game. So wish he was American, but, I got to give love to any CONCACAF players that come from MLS, go over to, one of the top 5 leagues clearly in the world, and end up starting and winning the Champions League final. So shout out to him.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what PSG does from here. I mean, it's definitely not a question of talent. Just look at their roster. They are ridiculously loaded. Fortunately, they play in a league that's, not very great. So
don't have to worry about the league too much.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be, if not winning the league, for certain top 3 every year. So they'll always make Champions League. But, it's just kind of a question of, once they get up to, the elite of the elite teams that kind of, like you discussed last week, teams that have a game plan and stick with it, as opposed to PSG where they're just kind of we got these good players, like an all-star game. Just go out there and, score, make something happen. So I'm kind of curious to see if they just decide, hey, let's just, buy some more great players, or if they start thinking okay, well, maybe we need to look at this more from an internal structure point and okay, let's start getting players that fit some sort of a system that we can roll with. So that way, whether things are going good or bad, we still, have an idea of what our team is doing.
Well, the rumors are already flying, PSG fans, so fret not. I mean, Ronaldo wants to win another league, so he could be going to France.
Messi's not happy.
Messi's allegedly not happy at Barcelona. I still have a hard time seeing him play for anyone else, but who knows? So they have the money. We'll see what happens.
I thought I saw that somebody's meeting with Suarez about possibly terminating his contract. So, let's see where that goes.
Just keep adding guys, PSG, until you just cannot be stopped.
There you go. But speaking of people that can't be stopped, I think we could swerve on over to – actually, let's go to NASCAR here for people that can't be stopped. We had a double header this weekend, nice race Saturday and Sunday. Both races, surprise, surprise, shock, horror. Denny Hamlin takes Saturday, Kevin Harvick takes Sunday. And although I think the big thing that we both kind of liked and kept our eye on was Martin Truex Jr. goes from taking 5 straight third places to getting back-to-back second places. So, working his way up, that kind of makes him dangerous for that playoff, where all you got to do is win that last race of the year.
That is true. I do still kind of feel bad for him. Saturday, he was right there in front, but, I mean, the car was – he was hanging on to that car, and Hamlin was just coming for him. And Hamlin knew he had the car, so that last 30 to 25 laps, you could see him just sort of getting up there. I mean, Dover is not a long track, so you're dealing with some lap traffic. But Hamlin just charged his way up there to get in the point where you could just make a move. And unfortunately, Truex, a bridesmaid once again. But and then Sunday, Harvick was pretty dominant out there. And Truex pulls second again. Also, I do have this classic picture of Hamlin. We'll just give him some shine.
Don't do it. That is absolutely horrifying.
Mass game strong. And then Harvick coming through Sunday. There he is in victory lane, holding the Busch beer that I'm sure he did not drink any of. But shout out to the great people at Busch, at Mobile, at Ford, Hunt Brothers Pizza.
Hunt Brothers Pizza. Yep.
Yeah. Put us in a great car, great position to win this week. So all that stuff.
But so NASCAR is rolling along. I mean, this week is the going to be the last race before the playoffs. I saw that. I think 13 people have already guaranteed a spot into the next round based off of wins this year, which is weird because it feels like it's just Harvick and Hamlin all year, but apparently 11 other people have won at least a race. So it'll be interesting to see, those last 3 spots. I haven't taken a good look at the standings. We'll do that before the end of the week so we can see kind of who the racers to watch this weekend are. But definitely look for some exciting action of guys, that are just really going to have to go for it this weekend to try and get that playoff spot.
Yeah, and then, as Tyler said, you go to the playoffs, it really gets weird. Anyone that's in there can win it.
Yeah. Then we'll stick with auto racing as well. Just want to touch on, of course, we had the big Indy 500 this weekend, which was run by Takuma Sato, who won his second Indy 500. Definitely big shout out to him. The ending was it ended under caution, which nobody likes to see, especially the reason why it went to caution, which was absolutely one of the most horrific wrecks I've seen in recent memory with Spencer Pigot, who was coming around the last turn, lost control and slid and just T-boned right into kind of the barrier that separates the main track from the pits. And Ronnie, I don't know if you happen to have the clip of it.
I do have the clip. Just for some context for those that may have not seen the race, there was a pretty good battle going on between Sato and Dixon, Scott Dixon. Sato ends up passing him right before this happens. I don't know if you would even say controversy. As Tyler alluded to, it did end under 2 laps of caution. A lot of people were saying on social media they should red flag this. I a couple of the commentators on TV, they should red flag it so they have kind of a shootout last 2 laps, especially on a track as big as Indy. But this happened with 3 laps to go, and this was terrifying. Just the way that he hit this barrier. And the thing that really stuck out the most to me was the sound. I'll play it twice just in case, if it cuts out or something. So you see him just basically get loose and spin out there on turn 4, and he's going backwards along the wall, but the cars it's still, even he's slowing down from 218 miles an hour, whatever he was going. You're still going about 140, and then the car is just going to do, physically different things. So it spun back, and it basically T-boned itself on the barrier. Just going to play it one more time. And you can see, I know Indy this year, they have the shields now in front of the driver, which thank God, because when parts of the car come flying off like that, I mean, we've seen guys literally be killed by suspension parts or tires, things like that, just flying through the air with how fast they're going. Even if you have a helmet on, I mean, that could just take you out. And I was terrified when I saw that happen. Again, no one wants to see kind of a good battle between Sato and Dixon end under caution. But the medical team goes, picks him up out of the car. He actually walks, 10, 15 feet, and then lays down on the ground. They got him on a stretcher. He was discharged from the hospital last night. Everything I've seen is he's doing well. But I was telling Tyler, all the helmets, all the neck restraints, carbon fiber, these cars are basically fighter jets. Your brain is not meant to take that. Just getting slammed from 140, 130 miles an hour to a dead stop. That can't be good. So at the very least, he got the wind knocked out of him, because he was a little woozy looking and then just sort of laid down. And he was still, he could move all his arms and legs and everything, but definitely a scary moment. So just glad he's all right, because we've seen guys not come back from worse wrecks than that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I had
lesser wrecks than that, I should say.
I didn't know what you meant. Yeah, if I hadn't known, that he was okay, my instant thought would just be like, he's dead. Like, there's the way he spun out and the way that he T-boned on that, like, it's not like he hit the front or he hit the rear where there's some room for impact. Like, he straight up hit right on the side, right where he's at in the driver's seat. It's mind-boggling to me that he's and thankfully, obviously, he's perfectly fine. Yeah, of course, he said he's shaken up. I mean, that's to be expected. But nothing major. No bones broken. No, didn't read anything about concussions. Which, as you said, I mean, you can get a concussion from just, falling and
Falling,
hitting
getting out
yeah,
of the shower or something.
yeah, falling 6 feet and hitting your head on the ground. Let alone going 140 miles an hour and all of a sudden having all your momentum stop because you hit essentially a wall. It's just like, yeah, it's again, glad to hear he's okay. Again, fortunate the race had to end that way, but his health is obviously the more important factor. So that's, again, glad to hear he's fine.
And shout out to both Dixon and Sato, IndyCar veterans. Sato was in Formula One for a while. He was still is a big sensation in Japan, being one of their most famous drivers out there. And not ideal to have it end under caution, but yeah, I would say thank God that guy is alive. I mean, I hesitate to go straight to like, oh, he's dead, but there's always that fear when you see that.
Sure.
My initial reaction was they're gonna have to like take him out of the car. Like he will not walk out of the car.
Like Jaws of Life, like cut him out of there.
Like don't move his head or anything like that. Make sure And fortunately, the car wasn't on fire or anything like that. That always complicates things like that. But just really scary and happy for him and his family that he's okay. But a pretty good race. Sato, was out in front for a long time, and Dixon really gave it all he had there at the end. And Sato just got the pass right before the unfortunate, what you just saw, that caused the caution. So he ends up taking the win and his second win.
Yeah.
Nick coming in, also, how intense is the concussion protocol testing after crashing like that? I'm not sure specifically to IndyCar, but I know a crash like that, they immediately take you to the hospital, even if you're walking around. There's usually a trailer there, and even if you pass sort of the medical testing there, they will still take you to the hospital as a precaution because, God forbid, they send you back to the hotel or back home, and then you're not okay. But he was discharged the same day, so not saying for sure he's going to come back next week and be in the next race. Who knows? That is something that would definitely shake you up. Yeah. But these guys are pretty gnarly with the fact that you can live through something like that, or even see that happen to someone else that you race with every week and still get back in that car and do it again.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know the exact protocols they have, but yeah, they obviously have doctors and EMTs on site. I mean, Ronnie said this, as soon as he got out of the car, they were right there, put him on the stretcher, got him into the hospital. I have no doubt that I won't say no doubt because people are crazy. I would be very surprised if he races again. If I don't know if they have a race this weekend. If they do, I'd be shocked if he does. I'm sure that, he obviously wouldn't be released unless the doctors at the hospital said, yeah, we're confident you're okay, but no doubt they said, hey, look, if any of these signs come up, and I'm sure there's a list of 100 things, they said if any of these signs come up, call us, bring him back here right away, so that way we can, jump on this as quick as possible. So, I have no doubt that, if he was released, it was in, the best possible faith, best possible conditions from the hospital he was at. So, again, hopefully he's okay. But again, I'd be shocked if he races in this next race.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a good time to just sit it out for a week or two, just sort of regroup.
Take a couple weeks off.
There's no shame in that.
No.
Real quick, I want to touch on the golf. I had the Northern Trust this weekend. Not a major, but FedEx Cup points involved, and we did see some pretty just unbelievable scoring out of Dustin Johnson, who's kind of I wouldn't say he's an enigma because he does have the most wins on tour, I think, in the last 3 years. He just surpassed Tiger Woods over that, or maybe 4 or 5 years, with 22 after this weekend. But he was just tearing that course apart. He ended up minus 30, which a couple things I wanted to show from this. First of all, this is his week. 5 eagles, 23 birdies, 41 pars, only 3 bogeys.
Jeez.
So as Sobel said here, if you have more eagles than bogeys on a weekend, that's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
So he just ran wild on that entire course. This was the beginning of his round on Friday, the front 9 under. And if you look at the First 5 holes, 7 under. So that's
Yeah.
birdie, eagle, birdie, eagle, birdie. And then he had a par. What a bum.
Loser.
Follow that up with 2 birdies and a par for a 27. Lowest 9-hole score to par in tour history. Unreal. I mean, the thing with him, like I said, I'm not going to call him an enigma, but going back to like the Memorial, what was that, 3 weeks ago? He couldn't even break 80. So he's kind of, you never know what you're going to get, but when he's on, he is on, and he was just out of his mind this weekend.
Yeah, and that was actually it says right there on the tweet that was at a TPC course, which I think that one was a par 71. Which I wrote down the scores. I mean, had a fine round on Thursday. Shot 4 under 67. Friday he shot 11 under with a 60, which is just ridiculous. Round 3 he shoots 7 under. Round 4 shoots 8 under. The next closest guy in the tournament was Harris English, who had a great score that probably wins most weekends. He shot 19 under for the tournament, and instead he loses by 11 strokes, which is
trash. What a bum!
Which
is just out of here.
Absolutely insane. Like that was. I remember when I saw the score after his 4th round, I had to refresh the page. I was like, no way, that's got to be a typo on there. There's no way. But just absolute dominance up there in Boston over the weekend.
Yeah, these are the things that always make me love but also hate golf at the same time. Because the thrill of being able to do something like that, I'm like, yes, man, that would be, you could picture how, I mean, never in my mind would I assume that I could ever do minus 30. I'm not completely delusional, but just someone just whooping a course that hard.
Yeah.
It makes you feel good as someone that's gotten whooped by the course so many times that hard. Yeah. But then also it's like, all right, well, he's obviously some kind of alien sent here to, just beat everyone at golf, and it's not fair, and damn it. But shout out.
Yeah, just absolutely crushed this weekend. I mean, his probably first. Yeah, I would definitely say that I would have no shot of. I mean, I don't think I'd ever have a shot of even parring a professional course, but 30 under is just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's insane. I think that's the 3rd lowest score of all time on the PGA Tour, or since 1950 or something like that. Just unbelievable. And again, shout out to Dustin Johnson. Leaves us, we got about 12 minutes left here. I do want to touch on some of the fight game over the weekend. As you know, we do have the Fight Doctor, and as you definitely know, all picks for entertainment purposes only. But let's fire it up for the Fight Doctor.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. The heavyweight champion of the world.
The main event of the evening.
Yes, as Ronnie said, we did have a nice little fight night card on ESPN on Saturday. Last week I said for free. Last week I said didn't look like the greatest card, top to bottom. The main event absolutely delivered. I would say the other fights on the card I was pretty entertained by. I think 4 of the 5 main card fights actually ended with the finish, which that's always fun instead of people just kind of circling around for 15 minutes. But definitely the main event. I mean, it's going to be a fight of the year contender in my eyes, which was Frankie Edgar getting the split decision win over Pedro Munoz. This was such trying to explain this fight is kind of weird. On my fight card, I had it 48-47 Edgar. But if you told me that you had it 49-46 Munoz, I would say, yeah, you've got an argument. It was every round except for maybe the second round was just an absolute toss-up, which, of course, even as usual, even though it was a super close split decision fight, there were still people online. Oh, man, somebody got robbed. Does nobody know what a robbery is? A super close fight, a super close split decision is not a robbery. But, Frankie Edgar came out, man. The first thing I noticed was, he's almost 40, but he's still quicker than ever. For a while, Munoz was kind of doing a good job trying to eliminate his quickness by throwing a lot of leg kicks, but then he kind of abandoned that strategy, and it just turned into just a straight up boxing match. I mean, guys just standing and swinging on each other. Edgar, would go for a takedown every once in a while. Munoz did a pretty good job with his takedown defense. But super close, super fun fight. It's one that I would definitely say, go back and watch. I think, anybody can appreciate it. Just two guys kind of standing and throwing. Kind of curious to see what this does for Munoz, because I know he was kind of looking to stay in that bantamweight title scene. I mean, I don't think he's hurt by the loss, but I don't think he really gained anything from it either. And interesting to see what Edgar does. I mean, that's I don't say he's a title contender, but you definitely got to give him a good competition in the bantamweight, because he did just beat the number 5 fighter.
Yeah.
A couple other fights I did just want to make mention of. One of them was Austin Hubbard and Joe Selecki, which wound up getting added to the main event card after Ovent St. Preux tested positive for COVID. So these were guys that, they thought they were going to be fighting, at 2:00, when it's on ESPN Plus. Instead, they're thrown out of the main card. Joe Selecki got the rear naked choke win over Austin Hubbard. Pretty fun fight. I think it only went about 3 minutes long. Just a lot of good, quick action. Both guys early in the fight, neither one really seemed inclined to block or play any defense. It was just kind of two guys standing there like, all right, you hit me as hard as you can, and I'm going to hit you as hard as I can.
Come at me, bro. Those are always entertaining, but they always usually end pretty quickly. Yeah.
Eventually wound up getting to the ground and Selecki getting the submission decision. Another fight I wanted to mention, just because of the Vegas implications on it, was Shanna Dobson getting the TKO victory over Maria Agapova. Agapova went in, if you wanted to bet on her, she was going at minus 1,400. Dobson going in at plus 750. First round, Agapova, the best way I could describe it is it looked like a street fight, where like she just kind of ran at it and just started swinging just like crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Hold me back.
That was her strategy, with street style. And for a while, it looked like it was good. She wound up finishing the fight on Dobson's back. Kind of looked like she was maybe going to get a rear naked choke, but Dobson survived the round. Then Agapova comes out in the second round, and she just looks exhausted, which is also why it looked like a street fight, because if you've seen two people fight on the street, after 30 seconds, both guys are just absolutely done. That's what Agapova looked like in the second round. Dobson wound up getting the TKO, just got on top, threw on some hammer fists. All in all, though, again, it was a surprisingly good card, which that's kind of been the UFC signature during this quarantine. Is like, you don't know these names, but they show up, they give you an entertaining fight, and it was free. What more can you ask for than that?
I always love the, like you said, like sort of the street fights or the sloppy outside the bar fights. If you're right there by it or involved somehow, you're just like, after the fact, man, that went on for, must have been 20 minutes, and it was probably like 25 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've not been in a bar fight, but I've definitely seen my fair share where, you watch it and you're like, dude, these dudes just went at it for so long. And then you look at your clock and you're like, oh no, they started fighting like a minute ago and they've been sitting around for 30 seconds. So definitely, when you see that, it gives you more of an appreciation for what boxers and MMA fighters can do. And actually, I'm glad I just mentioned the word boxer. That there wasn't really anything from either of the fighters coming out of the post-fight press conference, but there was one clip. And Ronnie, I don't know if do you happen to have it? I hope you have it. Yes. So Dana White was asked about his longtime nemesis, Oscar De La Hoya. Certainly not any love lost between those two promoters. Dana White was asked, what are your thoughts about De La Hoya coming back to fight again? And Dana, straight face, so it's like he
made it a little more intense that he was so straight faced. He didn't even crack a smile on it, really.
Yeah, Ronnie, just play the clip and let's see what he said.
Finally, last one. I'm a good friend of yours, Oscar De La Hoya, has announced he's coming out of retirement to box again. I just wondered if you had any.
Cocaine isn't cheap. It's expensive. Got to make money.
Thanks, Dana.
Yep.
Oh man, that
response, like, it was so straight faced where you're like, I know he's joking, but is he really joking? Like, he said that so straight face. Like, there's probably some truth behind that.
There's some heat behind that for sure. And as Tyler said, definitely no love lost between those two, being probably arguably the 1 and 2 most prominent promoters in combat sports right now.
Sure.
but that was Dana just letting loose on the Golden Boy.
Which, I don't know. I mean, Ronnie and I, we kind of texted back and forth on this when it quits the promotion game.
Winner goes home, or loser goes home match.
Here's the thing when it comes to fight sports is you can't ever trust when somebody leaves the game. But, I know you and I kind of texted back and forth about this a little bit, is Oscar De La Hoya coming back. Like, his last fight was against Manny Pacquiao 12 years ago. And that was a fight I happened to be in Vegas that weekend. I didn't plan on it. It was kind of an impromptu trip with a good friend of the show, Mike Yergosian, at the time. And when I got there, I saw De La Hoya was a favorite against Pacquiao, which this was like Pacquiao kind of right before his prime, or maybe like, kind of into his prime, which made a nice bit of money on that one. But De La Hoya looked awful. He looked terrible. So that was 12 years ago. I don't know. I kind of don't know what his thought is. I mean, like, I know fighters always have a problem hanging it up. Well, yeah, but he's a promoter. That's where the money's at, is promoting. So, I mean, I don't know if he gets a second paycheck this way. Maybe that's it, and maybe it is. Cocaine is expensive. Who knows? I'm sure. You said, you told me off air. He's not. He's not snorting the cheap stuff we can get on the street. He's got the special connect.
The kind that De La Hoya has a taste for. It don't come cheap. So I would assume, hopefully he's all right, but he does have a lifestyle to maintain. God, I don't know if I feel better for the people that cashed in on the plus 750 or worse for the people that maybe went big on the minus 1400 and just lost it all.
Like, all right, I'm using all my money. I got something I got to afford, but I need more money. So let's put it all on this one.
I got a sure thing. It's a lot.
Yeah. And you watch this girl come out there street fighting the first round, you're feeling good. And then the second round starts and that adrenaline dump is a real thing. Oh, just no! Light your money on fire. Oh
no! Nick coming in hot. Great defensive game. He blocked a lot of Manny's punches with his face.
He blocked 100% of the punches with his face. You're right about that. And just as a heads up before we get off the air, Roddy, your Lakers are up 124-95 with about 9 minutes left.
Let's go real quick. Didn't have a lot of room for baseball, but shout out to anyone that sweeps the Astros. Shout out to the Padres.
Yeah, it's true.
And I believe that also gave them a 7-game winning streak because they won the sort of 2 series against the Rangers home and away.
Rangers haven't won either since the whole Grand Slam fiasco.
It might have broke them. I don't know.
Yeah.
See if they can recover. But this was on the Indians broadcast tonight. Just a fun fact about Ray Caldwell, who was struck by lightning in the 9th inning of his Indians debut on August 24th, 1919. He finished the game, first of all, after being revived, and then pitched a no-hitter at New York 17 days later. That is old school baseball.
That's
pretty much summed up. Probably went to go work at a mine or something in between those starts.
Yeah. Just imagine he just wakes up. Let me finish. Let me finish. Probably
I got
his manager afterwards too.
Give me the ball. This guy's got nothing on me.
Yeah. No, shout out Ray Caldwell.
Fishnet stockings aren't cheap. Everyone getting in on the Golden Boy. Woo! Well, I hope he makes a lot of money, and I hope he doesn't die.
I'm sure he'll make plenty of money.
I'm sure he will, too. But, no, that's pretty much all I got. Just, again, amazing weekend in sports, especially with the individual performances that we saw. Like I said, going in on these Fridays, you got everything laid out. But this was one of those weekends where it came through, and then even more so with some of the stuff we got to see. So just awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in, commenting. We'll be back with you on Wednesday. Tyler, what do you got before we get out of here?
So we got coming up here on the network, Book Club with Patrice should be starting up right about the time we finish here in the next few seconds. But thank you guys for joining, for commenting. We love you. Thanks for coming back. And as always, keep the fire.
Keep the fire.
And R.I.P. Kobe.